man, I cannot believe I said no on my first boot camp. I was the only female in there. It's all dominated by men. She has long nails. I wonder how she's gonna open up the motherboard. When you're a survivor,
you survive.
You survive.
Yeah.
Jovianna, why don't you go on your own?
Lost no time.
Lost no time. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What's the worst that's gonna happen to me? I don't like it? Okay, then I become something else. There's many things that you could do to keep yourself safe.
I have the same password I came in the bike. I'm hacked already, right?
Like, there's gotta be a better way.
No,
No,
sure.
this kid come with a manual. So I can read it. What am I supposed to do here?
Sometimes my kids don't come with a manual or a return label. It's like you gotta figure it out.
I'm huge in having therapy, getting therapy. And,
Me too.
yes.
Did I butcher the freaking name again? Welcome to another episode of the Transform Podcast. Extremely excited today. I am here with Jovianna. She is an incredible guest. Just remember that we're here to help you transform your health, wealth, and relationships. That's our mission and our purpose. My friend, could you tell me more about you?
Oh, well, Alex, first I want to thank you for having me here today. So who am I? That's an interesting question.
Yes, it is.
Because so many times in our life we get to reinvent ourselves.
Yes.
So I like to take an inventory of who I am and where I'm going and where I'm headed to. Right now, I am the founder and CEO of Digital Forensics Now. I am very passionate about law and technology. I grew up in New York and then I came to Miami. I have 6 siblings. I grew up in a foster home, no parents, and then at 13, I had to be on my own. I was very fortunate. I had 2 siblings that took care of me. I put myself through school, worked full time. I'm definitely a go-getter.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
I'm definitely a go-getter. I have been very fortunate to have good people in my life where they've either mentored me or they've taught me a lesson, or just life itself teaches you experiences.
For sure. Going back to you growing up in foster home, you mentioned, right?
Right.
Tell me about that experience, about all your siblings. What type of child were you? Tell me about that.
Oh, okay. So we're 6 siblings. We all have the same father.
Okay.
So I'm the youngest of the first marriage. And when I was in foster care, I was 2 years old. My mother left me when I was 2. So we were very fortunate. We had a family in Rhode Island that adopted 3 of us.
Wow.
So I really don't remember much of it. I've only been told stories, because when I left there, I was like 3.5 years old. My father came back and he picked us up, and back then the laws were different. The father could show up and pick up the kids, versus like now you have more protection for kids that are growing up either in domestic violence and so forth. Which is something that I'm really passionate about, is definitely helping teenagers, because being a teenager and not having any parents, I would say, would be really, it's tough.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's tough. But who was I as a kid? Oh, I was cheerleading, softball, volleyball, drama. I was in yearbook. I was in everything.
Awesome.
I loved keeping myself occupied. Plus, I had 2 siblings. I have 2 siblings that are older than me, and when they would get out of work, it would be like 8, 9 o'clock. So I didn't have a ride home, because they couldn't change me from schools from when I had to live with my dad, but then afterwards he kicked me out of the house when I was 12. So they couldn't change me schools, and when they got out of work at 8, 9 o'clock, I had to be on the bench in front of school waiting.
Wow.
There was no Uber, there was no bus to take me there. So I got involved in all activities to kill time and to really let me find what I was passionate about. And that gave me drive and being competitive and not so much being competitive, but really getting to know people. And, even though you don't have the values that are being instilled in you from a parent, right?
Right.
That guidance that parents are supposed to give you, because I'm a mother of an 18-year-old, so guidance is very important.
Critical.
Yeah, even though they don't want to take it, but at least they give you some type of guidance, a path. I had to forge my own path. There was times our electricity got disconnected.
Wow.
And there was times that we had $5 to eat for Thanksgiving, and we had to go to 7-Eleven and buy 2 sandwiches. And how I was always the más gordita, my siblings would give me more of the sandwich.
Wow,
So yeah.
Drive me through that mindset of going through those struggles. Your parents and you growing up on a different household that what you would consider your own. How does that feel like, and how do you overcome that? Because you clearly have.
Right. I was very fortunate in the sense I like to read a lot.
Okay.
So I did a lot of self-help books.
Perfect.
I believe in journaling, so I journal every day. That helps me. And in addition to that, I would say that back then I really didn't feel the difference of not having parents. It's so odd because I kept myself so busy that for my games, because I was in dance line, I was in cheerleading, so I would have my sister and my brother come watch me. So they give me so much love that I really didn't notice that emptiness until I became a mother.
Got it. So tell me about that. How did that emptiness feel like, and what did it make you think at that point in time?
Oof, that's
thoughtful, right?
That's deep.
Yeah.
I realized that the importance of a mother, of that unconditional love, that whether you are going through troubles, you should never leave your kid. Your kid should always be right under your wing. So I think that's when I really took a deeper dive into the abandonment issue. And I got myself therapy. I'm huge in having therapy, getting therapy. And
me too.
Yes, I believe in therapy. There's nothing wrong with talking. You get to develop different skills by speaking it out, right?
For sure.
And putting that trauma behind you, because it's a trauma. But you got to learn. You got to have the right mindset and put that past you. So when I became a mom, I didn't have any help. It was me, like and my husband at that time. But I didn't usually have a mom in the hospital.
Some guidance.
Yeah, exactly. I had zero. So I was like, oh my God,
what do I do now?
No, does this kid come with a manual? So I could read. What am I supposed to do here? My other two siblings had no kids, so I was the first one. So, but I got by, I did okay.
Yeah.
I put it behind me.
Yeah, it's not a perfect science, right? It's impossible to be the perfect parent, but we try our best.
Yeah, absolutely.
My wife and I joke about this all the time. Like, kids don't come with a manual or a return label. It's like you gotta figure it out. So like, what are you gonna do? Yeah. Awesome. So take me later on in life. You're excelling at school, doing all these amazing activities. Where did the journey take you next? I'm
very fortunate again that I've had a great journey. I have no regrets. Yeah, could I go back and do things differently with the wisdom I have now? Oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely, right? But I really don't have any regrets. But my journey was, I was aspiring to be an attorney, so I was all into law. I got my undergraduate in legal studies, and I worked full time at the same time. So I started off from working at the state attorney's office, I moved to a receptionist, then I went to a secretary, and then I became a paralegal, and from a paralegal I became a trial paralegal, so I specialized in that. And then I got into e-discovery, that was technology. And so here in Miami, I worked for really good firms, and I had really good mentors, a lot of attorneys, a lot of secretaries with a lot of knowledge, a lot of paralegals. And I learned from everyone. I loved being in a courtroom and seeing everybody be storytellers. Yeah. It's really what you are. You're a storyteller.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really what law is, right? You storytell. That's technology myself. That's what I do as well now. So after that, to fast forward, 2015, I decided to go back to school. I got my master's. I still was working full time, and I wanted a technology position. And in that technology position, there was no position available for e-discovery manager or lit support here in Miami in 2015. Wow. It was so difficult. Like now it's just like so tech. Like the ecosystem has changed so much as to back in 2015.
But I want you to take me back before you head there. I want you to let me know what triggered that change from law to technology. And also, what technology are we even talking about? I want you to be specific so that I could learn.
Okay. So that's an interesting question. So being a paralegal, you have to have an investigative mindset at all times.
Right.
Back when I was a paralegal, it was banker's box, files, and you have to go through them, and you're at court and you're going through all these documents. And in 2018, I was in New York for an arbitration, for a trial. And I had a company that came in, they see me arriving with 250 banker's box from here, from Miami, and like going through them and making copies and copies and copies. They're like,
old school.
Yeah, they're like, we have a software.
Wow, got it.
Yeah, and so they introduced me into e-discovery, and e-discovery is pretty much is collecting whatever information a client gives you of documents, whether it's an email or a hard copy. You scan it into the software, and then the attorneys or myself get to review it and decide whether it's responsive or not to provide to the other side. So that was the technology. That's how I got introduced into 2008 into technology, right? So I took a passion for it because I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. My goodness, I could fly. Now like, my work is like, it's streamlined.
Right.
I get to produce batches. I'm like, this is awesome. So I took a passion for technology. And back in 2000, that was in 2008, but backtrack to 2004 when I graduated and I had my bachelor's in pre-law. This is when I had my daughter. And so when I had my daughter, me being a mom, I was like, I'm going to pause my career and wait until she's a little older for me to go to law school.
Right.
So I passed on that opportunity. I could have gone back at 2015, I could have done it, or even in 2008, but I saw attorneys, the way they worked and how, oh my goodness, they're brilliant, but man, if you work for a big law firm,
they work like animals.
It's all billables. Billables. And I see all these associates come in, and they had to work till midnight, 1 o'clock. And I myself, as a paralegal, was a workaholic as well. And we had trial to prepare for, but they were consistently every day. So I saw that a lot of them get burnt out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's got to be a better way.
For sure.
Where I could, there's got to be a better way. I can't do this with a child. And
having children changes those priorities, right?
Everything. Yeah, your whole mindset shifts.
Completely.
It becomes more them, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to take her to ballet. I have to pick her up from school.
Right.
So your priorities shift, right? At the same time, you still want to keep yourself in a career.
Right.
Growing in a career. So it was back in 2008. After I got burned out, I left for I took 2 years off, and I went back to school, got my master's in administration, and then I said, how do I make this transition from being a trial paralegal into an e-discovery role? So I got certified for e-discovery. It was great because I have a master's in that e-discovery. It opens up a lot more doors.
Fit right in.
Right, because you're educated. So I picked a map, and I go, okay, I'm going to apply everywhere since Miami has no jobs for me because I'm tired of being a paralegal. I maxed out what I could make. I'm not going to be working all this overtime. I want a different salary. I picked the map, and I just started applying everywhere. I applied everywhere you could possibly imagine. And I'm like, I'll leave it up to God because I am a believer in God. I have faith. I mean, God is the one that has allowed me to continue in life, to grow and become stronger. And when you're down, He's the one that picks you up.
Yeah.
So I got an interview in Maryland, in Bethesda, Maryland, and I got my daughter. I had nobody to babysit her, so I got her on the plane. We flew all the way to Bethesda. I had her stay at the hotel.
Wow.
Yeah, hotel. I told her, listen, she was already 11 years old, and I'm like, listen, I'll order you room service. Could not open the door to anybody, and I had to go down the street to get this interview. Right, and for this law firm to be an in-house e-discovery specialist, and this was me transitioning from paralegal to technology, and I was very fortunate. I got the position, and I got my daughter, and within 4 weeks, I had a house here in Miami Beach. I rented it out, and
And
I
you
moved
relocated. Wow, that's incredible.
to Bethesda, Maryland. I didn't know anyone there. So the firm has the administrator from the firm. I became good friends with her. So she gave me guidance, and she goes to me, Jovianna, if you have a kid and you don't have anybody to take care of, why don't you move across the street? The apartments are really nice. So this is Bethesda, where it's all high. Everybody's from Princeton, Harvard, and all this. So that's another story to say. That was an adjustment for myself coming from Miami. Yeah. It was like a culture shock.
For sure.
And I went over there, and I was in e-discovery. And one attorney comes in one day, and he goes to me, hey, Jovianna, do you know how to extract the text messages from a cell phone? And I looked at him, I'm like, no. And he goes, okay, can you find a vendor? I'm like, oh man, I cannot believe I said no on my first week of work that I do not know how to extract a chat from a cell phone. So, of course, I am a very curious person, and I love to take risks because that's what it allows me to grow. So I got on that computer, and I'm here searching, and I'm like, okay, what does it take for me to become a forensic expert? And what do I need to do? And how do I pitch this to the CEO of the company so I could get a department not only running e-discovery, but also bringing forensics in-house?
Wow.
So I went up to him. I gave him a speech. They paid my course to get certified. I went a week for a boot camp, and then I had the part of the exam was like 4 parts. It was very, I would definitely say, very challenging.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, no, and not only that, but when I went to the boot camp, I was the only female in there. It's all dominated by men at that time.
That's true, because that industry is like all men.
All men. So me coming in, I was the only female in there. It was maybe
the outsider.
18. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, oh my goodness, she has long nails. I wonder how she's gonna open up the motherboard. Right. So of course I come in with my little drills and stuff like that. But that's another story to say.
Where did the risk-taking come from? Was it like childhood and all the struggles you went through, or is it always been instilled in your nature, or simply at some point? The reason why I ask is because I feel like everybody's afraid to face their biggest fears, right?
Right.
And humans are risk averse by nature. I'd rather collect this $1 bill from the floor than to go get $1 million by creating a business.
Right.
So where did this risk-taking came from?
I owe it a lot to my upbringing. Okay. I think it's also instilled in me, but I owe it a lot to my upbringing because I had to be a survivor. And when you're a survivor,
you survive.
You survive.
Yeah.
And not only survive, but then you got to get past whatever it was and then go to the next step. You got to be a problem solver. You have to be a problem solver. And I think that early in my life, I learned that those skills. Those are skills that many people don't know. And fear of doing something has never been my problem. I'm scared. I get scared because I'm taking a risk, but I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What's the worst that's gonna happen to me? I don't like it. Okay, then I become something else. So
that's incredible.
Yes. So thank God I've been able to pass that to my 18-year-old daughter as well. But I think it would have to be from my upbringing. Yes. Yeah.
It's incredible that you mentioned that, because like everybody else, like I face with those things as well sometimes. Key points in my life that I've decided whether this is the right path or not the right path, and sometimes fear has kept me from taking big steps. So I commend you on being like that. That's incredible. Tell me then more. How do you go from corporate and working in this law firm in Maryland to like, all right, I'll take now the even bigger leap, and I'll go into doing my business and my own thing?
So one thing I learned from everywhere I worked and all the feedback I would get, they would tell me, Jovianna, you love to think outside the box. But when you work either a law firm or for somebody else, you have to stay within certain
guidelines or whatever,
right,
the box.
Exactly. So I didn't allow, it's not that it didn't allow me, but I didn't feel like I could freely express myself.
Got it. Maximizing your potential.
Right, exactly. Stepping out of my comfort zone at all times. So 2018 comes around, still in Maryland. My contract was over. And I was sitting down with my CEO, wonderful man, great mentor. He definitely was. And he's like, Jovianna, why don't you go on your own?
Oh, he told you like that?
Yeah, he goes, why don't you open your own company and go do forensics and see how it goes? He's like, you'll have no limit there. You won't have anybody to tell you, no, like you can't do that because you own the company. So I'm like, you know what, he's got a point. So I incorporated back in 2017 and
Lost no time.
Came to Miami. I was at that time staying at my ex-husband in one of his houses. He lent me one of his houses, and I started my business out of the den, out of his den.
That's
with one computer and one software, and going door to door, pretty much to law firms, asking them, "Hey, listen, this is the value I could add to you. This is what I do, and let me see what are your services? How can I complement your services to add additional value to your clients?" So that's how I started.
So tell me about that value. Tell me about the value you could add to attorneys and law firms.
So
what is forensics? I still you walk me through what the other piece of technology was, like scanning and data, like a CRM, right?
Right.
But like, what is forensics?
So digital forensics is any electronic being able to recover the data and extracting it for it to be legible to give to attorneys for litigation purposes. So for example, if somebody needs text messages, they come to me. If somebody needs emails, because I do it forensically soundable. So that means I could testify in court with that I use this software and these were the procedures that were followed and here's my forensic report and here's my and I'm certified and so forth. So the way that I said that attorneys are storytellers, well, I'm a storyteller too, but digital footprints of end users. So anything you do on a device, when they give me that device and they ask me, they give me the scope, I tell them the story of what happened. I recreate patterns of people.
Wow. So walk me through an example. Like, let's imply that I'm assuming that this is when you commit a crime, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or under investigation. Or, yeah, pretty much. When
all right, let's pretend I've committed a crime. So I've committed a crime. I give you my phone. You get the phone. What happens next? What are you even looking for? Like whatever they want, like go find me a text message about this crime that this guy maybe has a digital footprint of, maybe he was gonna burn down a building, right? Find me either an email or like a search on the web or a text message where he implicated himself on burning down a building. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, or also, Wi-Fi picks up on your phone,
so
you're able to know where pinpoints are at. So you'll know if that person
was at that location nearby,
or had been visiting for the last week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or months prior to committing that crime. We'll know based on his pattern.
So pro tip, I'm gonna ask you a question now. Pro tip, I'm really curious about this thing. I think this is fascinating. iPhone, right? I have my iPhone.
Right.
It's like super secure, or so they say. Would you be able to extract information without my consent from my iPhone? Is that really? Is that something that happens? Don't listen to it.
Well, I am a ethical hacker, certified ethical hacker.
But could it happen? Let's say somebody that doesn't have the degree of ethics that you have in your company, like someone out there, could they break into your phone if technology would allow that?
If you have the right software, yes. If you have a forensic software, yes, and the techniques, yes, you could. It's doable. You could hack into anything. That's why we also do cybersecurity. So we do digital forensics and cybersecurity. So cybersecurity in the sense that we investigate when a company gets breached. They contact us.
Wow.
So people come to me, not only to me, but to my company when they're in crisis. Because that's why we're storytellers, because we track down end users, the digital footprints of them, whether it's that they stole confidential information, whether they were stalking someone.
Wow.
So it's many things.
Should that be for the people out there listening to this, should people come to you and companies come to you once they're in crisis? or should they be proactive with this type of things?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So ideally, it would be for them to be proactive. We'd love to be able to give advisory services on preventive measures to reduce your risk of being hacked. I think that's critical in organizations, and they should definitely.
I agree, and I agree. But why do you think that people wait to the last minute? Like, why is that in the nature of like decision makers to wait until you get hacked to like even think about the fact that, oh, this is something that maybe I could have prevented? Why does that happen?
For lack of education wise,
Okay.
or lack of budget.
Okay.
Because for you to implement certain safeguards and be able to afford certain software, you need to have the right people at using the right technology. So it's expensive.
Yeah.
Because you have to hire talent, you have to purchase the equipment. So many people don't have it in their budget, or some others have the right people, allegedly the right people that are supposed to be monitoring, and they're not.
Got it.
So the thing is that what I've realized is that organizations need to consistently be doing an inventory of where their assets are at, of their employees, of what are their privileges that they have. Like those are critical things that I
For sure, yeah, makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to me, but again, I don't have the authority to make those decisions. But yeah, it clearly makes sense to me as well, especially in these things. I recently watched the movie. I don't know if you have. I don't know if you have Netflix. Leave the World Behind. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
You have to see.
Yeah.
You have to see it. So the premise of the movie, it's something similar to what you would handle. The premise of the movie is that there's this family that goes on vacation, like a weekend getaway, and all of a sudden, the world has gone crazy. Why? Because like satellites are down. Like there was some cyber attack, and they took down every satellite. Their power's out. Communications are out. Like that's it. We're back to
shut down.
We're back to the ice age, right? Is this something that could happen?
Yeah, recently I saw there was a breach and they cut off the water for the entire state. So
state of Florida?
No, not the state of Florida.
Oh, okay.
State.
Like another state.
Yeah,
Got
there's
it.
another state.
So that could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some guy sitting in the Philippines, like they could click a button and then the water goes out here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you have the majority of the hackers are from Russia, China.
Got it.
They have ransomware. Cyber criminals, pretty much, everywhere. But those are primarily where it's.
That's where it's happening.
Yeah, that's where it's happening.
Scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I went. Now that you mentioned that, I go to a conference called DEF CON. So it's only where all hackers go, and they have competitions. And when they announce the winners, they only show like the alleged name, and they're all Russia, China.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So that also I guess, not to go political, but I mean that also explains why we need more people like you in this field to make sure that the country as a whole it's protected from all these attacks that could potentially happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely. That's why my company's focused on giving back to the community in the sense that I help law firms, which are attorneys, and businesses bring crimes to justice, or teach them how to investigate cases as well. Like that is how I get to serve the community.
That's awesome. So tell me what brought you to, obviously your background, I would say, but what else brought you to like doing work in the community, being so passionate? You and I met in a community event. So
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the networking mindset that you have, like what impact that has had in your life and so on.
So that's a great question. And it is very important to network. I wish I would have learned this younger, but it's never too late.
Yeah, of
So
course not.
last year I decided to become proactive in the beginning of the year. We're trustee members for the Greater Miami. We're also trustee members for the South Florida Hispanic Chambers. And we go to a lot of networking events, not with the mindset of to make a business transaction, but more of the mindset to really connect with people. You got to connect. Like, you can't say, hey, I'm here and these are my services and hey,
bye.
no, you got to get to know someone. So it's been very, very impactful for me to be able to do that and have the opportunity to serve on committees and stuff like that.
That's why we're sitting here today, right?
Yes.
Like, opportunities.
Yes.
So funny. Tell me about, I always ask this question because I think it provides a lot of insight on your field, right? I have a ton of misconceptions I could just think about in a second now about cybersecurity and all these things. So tell me some of the misconceptions you have seen in your field and maybe something that you would like to debunk as completely fake.
Well, you really don't know something is real until you really like grab the data and see it for yourself in black and white, right? As far as like digital forensics is concerned, I think that you got to leave it to the experts to extract the data and to be able to let you know whether it's been recovered or not. Don't rely on the clients to provide you the data, because that means that perhaps they didn't grab everything and they only gave you what they wanted you to see. And then when you're in trial, you're going to be like, holy moly, here's the slam you with this document. You're like, I didn't know about this. So something like that. But for cybersecurity, it's just being proactive, definitely. I think that you definitely have to seek professionals as well. Just even if it's just to have an assessment and inventory of where you're at in IT as well. Like, that's the same mindset that I have. What I apply to myself of like, I do an inventory of where I'm at and where I'm headed. It's the same way that I see businesses. Is like they should make an inventory of everything they have and what privileges are given to certain employees and where they're headed, so that you could prevent yourself from being attacked, cyber attacked.
So if I heard you right, biggest misconception you might have heard is like, I don't need this, like I'll be reactive rather than proactive, right?
Right.
Bad choice.
Yeah, that's a really bad choice.
Okay.
Because then you're likely, if you're vulnerable, you're gonna get hacked.
Yeah.
I mean, people are getting hacked every single day. I mean, it's a part of business. It keeps me in business, but it's just a part of business. Preventive measures is really good too.
I have a misconception of my own.
Oh, what is it? Tell me.
Can they hack like my password on my router at my house? I have the same password that came in the box.
Oh my goodness, no way. Oh my God, please change it.
I'm like, I'm hacked already, right? So tell me about that. Is it a misconception or is it true that?
No, it's true.
Okay,
of course it is. It's true. Just like, let's say you go to a Starbucks, right? And you're just sitting there having some coffee and you log in, you have your laptop, you want to answer some emails. And of course you're like, oh my God, can I get on their Wi-Fi, right? You could get on the Wi-Fi, but you should definitely be on a VPN first, so that they don't hack they don't know where you're coming from, right? So you're more secured. So those are things people need to know and be careful with. So you do not, or you get an email and you don't recognize who it's from, or they're asking you for money, or they're asking you to reset a password. Don't click into it, because then they're going to drop malware and they're going to hack you. So there's many things that you could do to keep yourself safe. But beautiful. Are you always going to be like bulletproof? No.
Okay. I'll change my password tonight. I'll name it Alex123.
Oh my goodness! Oh my God, that reminds me. Oh my goodness, Alex123. That reminds me. We did one case, and this was a big breach case, and the password was soccer mom 123.
I could have guessed that, right? Probably it's like in the movies. They probably had a photo of like the mom with the boy playing soccer, and like, it's like, oh, soccer mom 123, right? That's funny. Tell me about some of your passions. What, aside from work, right, and your family and your children, like, tell me about what are you passionate about today?
So I'm very passionate. I definitely am passionate about journaling. It's something that it helps me. Meditation as well. I've now picked up a daily routine of it. I think it allows me to continue to shift my mindset to keep it positive, as well as manifest what I want. I'm a true believer in that. I read a lot of books. I love boating. I definitely growing up in Miami. Growing up in Miami, who doesn't like boating, right? I grew up doing kickboxing, so I just picked it up back again. Yes. So I'm looking forward to that. What else am I passionate about?
I mean, that's a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a lot of things.
I like martial arts too.
Yeah.
I always mention this because I have to mention it, I guess. I do jiu-jitsu. I grew up doing Taekwondo back in Cuba. Like, I got to like the regional champion level. I then did MMA masters here for a while, and then now I've been practicing jiu-jitsu for like 2 years and a half. So gives you so much power, right? So much confidence to know that you could, I don't know if I should say this, kick somebody in the face.
You mean kick ass?
So, very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice.
On anything, right? It could be employment, it could be life, it could be change, anything.
The best piece that definitely I would say was go on my own, build my company.
From that CEO.
Yeah.
So that helped you transform your life.
Yes, and then me taking that leap of faith, then it allowed me to even grow more, because then I got to continue doing forensics. I got into cybersecurity. Now the business is also certified as a woman and minority, and we're able to bid for government contracts. And then I learned also, maybe like about a year ago, that we're also the Digital Forensics Now is the first Hispanic minority woman-owned company that does digital forensics and cybersecurity in the country.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I think now where I'm at and seeing what has been the best piece of advice has been that. I wish I would have done it sooner.
I could see that. For the people out there, right, watching us, or maybe people that don't even know who we are, right, but might come across one of the clips. How would you share with them that they give them a tip or some insight on how to eliminate these limiting beliefs that we have? Maybe I can't go on my own. Maybe I can't run a business. Maybe I can't be a woman in technology. Like, how do you break through those limiting beliefs? In your
breaking through those barriers and being able to. The fear is your worst enemy.
Yeah.
If you limit yourself to fear, you're never going to grow, and you're going to stay exactly where you're at. So I've been able to overcome it. It's because if I take the leap, I get to learn something new. And then I get to decide on whether I like it or I don't. If I'm passionate about it, then I could continue. And if I'm not, then I'm like, okay, let me just shift it to this other side. So I think that you just got to go for it.
Just got to be open to at least try it out, right?
Yeah, you have to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
This comes back to my personality, that I have an investigative mindset, and I don't think inside a box. I think outside everything. I look at.
You're looking at the box.
Yeah, I'm looking at the box, right? Exactly. But I think it's part of who I am, right?
Yeah.
And part of my past that has allowed me to grow into who I am now. But you have to step out of your comfort zone. If you're not out of your comfort zone, you're not going to grow. So the best way you could do is listen to podcasts, find people that inspire you, read books that inspire you, and just listen to that every day. Yeah. Give yourself 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour a day in complete silence, either to meditate or to listen to a podcast, or go for a walk and listen to the podcast, because you're allowing yourself to feed certain knowledge that is positive from learning from hearing or learning from other people's experiences.
Different perspectives
of what they went through, and how it's not about failing, it's about learning.
Yeah.
It's about opportunity. So for me, failure is an opportunity.
I call it evolution, right?
Right.
Evolving. We do not fail. We get an opportunity to reassess. Either my skill set is not there, either my knowledge is not there. All right, I could go get it, and then I evolve and I become a different person, right? I don't like to say pivot, because that says like abandon one thing and do another thing.
Right.
No, it's like we take everything we've been given and we evolve from that. So that's amazing you mentioned that.
Yeah. So I call that reinventing yourself.
There you go. Thank you. I like it even more.
Yeah. So that for me is reinventing, and that's huge.
Yeah.
Because you should be reinventing yourself
All the time.
consistently and growing.
Yeah.
And if you have a partner, that person should be doing the same, and then bring those experiences with your experiences, and combined, you're both growing. So
Absolutely.
you're going to have a healthy relationship. So for me, it's critical to know where I'm at. And if something makes me unhappy, I make a decision and I go somewhere else. I have that mindset that I'm like, I want only positive. I want good thing. And once you start manifesting that, good people start coming, and it's just the energy.
Yeah.
It's contagious.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
It's
is. That's
contagious.
actually on one of my episodes
Yeah.
on the podcast. I have Jenny, one of my guests in the podcast, and she said that laughter and being positive is contagious. So it's funny that you mentioned that.
Yes.
Tell me about what's next for you.
So
What are the goals for your business? What's next for you as a person, as a human being?
So for my business, definitely expansion. I hope to be able to grow more in the United States, as well as expanding to Latin America.
Okay.
I do have an office in Bogota, Colombia, but I would like to see that evolve a lot more. And also continue working on my current relationships, fostering those relationships, making sure, serving the community, making sure to make them as much as cyber safe as
Right.
possible, right? And personally, all that, once that starts coming in, I'll be growing into different roles. Most likely, I could foresee myself being more on panels, being more in
Nice.
advisory role. So I think
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
Maybe, yeah. I think so. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So I think once my company expands, it allows me to also grow with it.
Right. Absolutely.
And continue growing my team. I'm really big into having a really dynamic team.
How do we find you and your business?
So it's at www.digitalforensicsnow.com.
Beautiful.
Yes, you could definitely there, or you can also get me on LinkedIn. I'm Jovianna Gonzalez. And you could reach out to us anytime. We have a hotline. We have a phone number for a hotline, and we're there 24/7.
Beautiful.
One thing about ourselves is that we pride ourselves on the word now. It's Digital Forensics Now. So now means it's now. Like,
It's get it done now.
right.
No.
Yes. We definitely help people solve their problems now.
Yeah. I would say this has been an incredible episode. You are great. Like, your perspective is so cool.
Thank you.
If you could tell my audience, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a business and personal development podcast.
Right.
In one word, a piece of advice to help them either improve their health, wealth, or relationships, what would that word be?
Gratitude.
Beautiful. Give me more.
Gratitude.
Explain it to me.
Gratitude. I believe, in my experience, that what has allowed me to propel and transition to different careers, and personally as well, and personal growth and professional growth, has been gratitude. Every day I wake up, I'm grateful to God. Every night before I go to sleep, I'm grateful to God. I speak to God all day. All day I speak to God. I'm speaking to myself, but God is listening to me.
I understand.
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for every opportunity. I'm grateful for being here. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for what I have, where I'm living, being alive.
Yeah, for sure.
And not taking it for granted, and the opportunities
The
will
world
come.
opens up for you when you think that way.
Yeah, it's just, it allows you to expand. Like, networking is so important. because you get to step out of your comfort zone. You show up to places and you don't know anyone, and you're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
you know.
I feel so awkward.
I know, I'm like gonna stand here in the corner now, but then you just like start loosening up, and you never know. You meet this person, then you meet that person, you meet this person, and it just becomes.
Have you ever heard that clip from Steve Harvey on gratitude on YouTube?
On YouTube, no.
No? Oh,
No.
I invite you to do it. He argues that we are the biggest blessing blockers in our own lives. Why? Because like we get the beautiful house we always dream on having, like the perfect car, like these amazing children. And all of a sudden we find ourselves saying, gosh, but I have to pay for this big house. And I have to like go change the tire on this damn car. And these kids just drive me nuts, right? So we're not being grateful for the things that we asked for in the first place. And if God or the universe or whatever you believe in, it's watching you, and they have more of these things that you want, would they keep giving you things if you can't handle the stuff you already have?
No, we say stop complaining.
So think about that.
Don't complain and be grateful.
Don't complain, be grateful. And I'm extremely grateful to be here at your home today, like doing this incredible interview.
Thank you.
I appreciate you very much, and
Thank you.
I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
See you in the next one, guys.
See ya.
Bye. Cut.